Effective communication and navigating power are crucial for organizational success. Clear communication fosters collaboration, innovation, and problem solving. It also builds trust and motivates employees. Understanding power dynamics allows individuals to manage relationships effectively, leading to a more positive and productive work environment. I am Ria-Flor for the subject Educ 608, Human Behavior in Education, tackling organizational behavior and conflict, focusing on the topic transactional analysis of human behavior, ego status, and power and politics in organizations with Dr. Erwin P. Lacanlale, Professor. Before we begin with the report, allow me to read to you the comprehensive questions which will be discussed later. Number one, considering the different sources of power discussed or will be discussed in this report, can you share an experience from your workplace where you observe one of these power dynamics being used? How did it influence the situation and the people involved? Number two, my report will be mentioning Rolomy's model of power, which includes using power for both positive and negative purposes. Can you think of a leader you've encountered who exemplifies either a nutritive or integrative use of power? Describe the situation and the impact this leader's approach had on the team or organization. This report explores how transactional analysis helps understand power dynamics at work and analyze different sources of power and how leaders can use power positively or negatively. Let's find out how these dynamics can help people in the workplace to achieve their goals. For the objectives, we have to discuss how ego states can influence how power is used and perceived in the workplace, analyze the different sources of power and how leaders use power for positive and negative purposes, and letter C, explore related case studies and share your personal experiences on the use of transactional analysis and power and politics in your organization. Let us have first the transactional analysis of human behavior ego status. What is transactional analysis? To put it simply, it is a psychoanalytic theory and method of therapy developed by Eric Berne in the 1950s. It focuses on simply analyzing the exchanges in communication between people, considering the different ego states such as parent, adult, child that influence how we human beings interact. Why is TA important in understanding human behavior and communication? Number one, TA or transactional analysis focuses on analyzing communication exchanges between people considering their ego states, and understanding transactional analysis is important for better comprehending human behavior and their communication patterns. In its essence, transactional analysis equips us with a framework to understand the underlying dynamics of communication, shedding light on how we interact with others the way we do. This knowledge can empower us to improve our communication skills and eventually foster healthier relationships. So, what are the three ego states? We have the parent, adult, and child. How is each ego state formed and its characteristics? So, transactional analysis actually proposes that our personalities are comprised of three distinct ego states, which are the parent, adult, and child. These states represent different thinking, feeling, and behaving, and they are shaped by our past experiences, particularly with our interactions with our caregivers, such as our parents, during our childhood. Let us discuss first the parent ego state. For the parent ego state, it is formed from the internalized messages, values, and beliefs we receive from our parents or parental figures or authority figures such as our teachers and grandparents during our childhood days. This means that these messages can be explicit or obvious, such as always clean your plate, or implicit, such as don't express your anger. It can also be further divided into one, critical parent, and two, nurturing parent. For the critical parent, this is characterized by being judgmental, critical, and controlling. Oftentimes, it uses the phrase or the word shoulds and shouldn'ts. This is the judgmental, harsh, and controlling side. It uses phrases such as you should or you should not and expresses disapproval or criticism. It might make someone feel inadequate or ashamed. Meanwhile, for the nurturing parent, the caring, supportive, and protective one, the parent ego state often uses phrases like you should or you shouldn't and might expresses disapproval or offer unsolicited advice. Next would be the adult ego state. In transactional analysis, the adult ego state stands in contrast to the parent and child ego states. It represents a more rational and objective way of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Unlike the other two states, the adult ego state is not influenced by past experiences or emotions. It deals with the here and now in a rational and objective way based on facts and reality testing. It gathers information, analyzes facts, and makes decisions based on reality testing. It is not clouded by past experiences or emotional reactions. It means that it focuses on problem solving and clear communication. The adult ego state is all about effective communication and problem solving, and it allows us to express ourselves clearly, listen attentively to others, and consider different perspectives. It also helps us navigate challenges logically and find solutions that work for everyone involved. Oftentimes, it uses the phrases like I feel or I think and communicates assertively. Other characteristics include being active listener, considerate of all sides of an issue, and adaptive to changing circumstances. Last is the child ego state. It represents a collection of emotions, thoughts, and behaviors carried over from our childhood. It essentially holds on to our inner child with all its inherent joys, fears, and impulses. So it holds under emotions and reactions from our childhood, and it can be further subdivided into an adaptive child and a free child. An adaptive child conforms to external expectations to gain approval or avoid disapproval. This substate reflects how we adjusted our behavior to gain approval or avoid disapproval from caregivers. It might involve suppressing our feelings, acting compliant, or becoming rebellious. Meanwhile, for the free child, this is characterized by being spontaneous, creative, playful, and seeking pleasure. This substate embodies our natural, spontaneous, and creative side. It is playful, imaginative, and enjoys life's simple pleasures. The child ego state also might expresses emotion impulsively or act in ways seeking attention or approval. So, how ego states affect our communication? To put it simply, we have to define first what we mean by transactions. Transactions are the basic units of communication in transactional analysis. It refers to the exchanges of messages between people, where each message comes from a specific ego state, either the child, the parent, or the adult, and it is directed towards a specific ego state in the other person. So, in transactional analysis, it believes that adult to adult communication or transaction lead to the most effective and healthy communication, thus, healthy relationship with others. And there are different types of transactions, and we are going to tackle them one by one and how we are going to explain how these interactions from different ego states interact with each other. So, what are the three types of transactions? Number one is the complementary actions or transactions. Number two is the cross transactions. And number three is the ulterior transactions. Let's tackle them one by one. So, for the first one, which is the complementary transactions and their impact to communication, it occurs when the sender's ego state aligns with the receiver's responding state. So, in other words, they are parallel with each other. When it happens, communication flows smoothly and reinforces interaction. And there are two communications that may prosper. We have the healthy and the unhealthy. An example for the healthy is the adult to adult, which means that they are parallel with each other. For example, they are discussing a project calmly, or a nurturing parent adapted child where the parent is offering comfort to a child that is sad. These interactions foster understanding and cooperation. However, for the unhealthy, we could have the critical parent adapted child where there is constant criticism, and this can limit the adult relationship, creating a dynamic of negativity and low self esteem. And we have to remember that not all complementary transactions are healthy. For instance, an overly critical parent adapted child dynamic can be limiting in adult relationship. So next one is the cross transactions and how they can lead to misunderstandings. In transactional analysis, cross transactions refer to communication exchanges where there is a mismatch between the sender's ego states and the receiver's responding state. Imagine a tennis player hitting the ball, but the opponent, instead of using a racket, tries to volley it with a badminton racket. So the exchange gets disrupted. In other words, they are not aligned with each other. How does cross transaction happen? It happens when there is a mismatch between the sender's and receiver's ego states, which can lead to confusion and misunderstanding. Example of this would be a critical parent scolding to an adult who is trying to explain calmly, where instead of meeting halfway, it can only cause frustration. It requires one or both parties to shift or change from one ego states for a smoother communication. Cross transaction can happen for various reasons such as misreading cues, emotional triggers, or being defensive. And the result of this is often confusion, tension, and even a complete communication breakdown. Last but not the least is the ulterior transaction. Ulterior transaction in transactional analysis are a bit more complex than complementary or cross transaction. Why? Because it involves a hidden agenda or a double meaning or double message. It involves hidden messages, a social message on the surface level, and a psychological message on a deeper level, often used in unconsciously and can be manipulative. For example, when a teacher who is an adult says you can choose any subject, but it uses she or he uses a tone implying doubt about the student's abilities. That is like a critical parent to a rebellious child, and that is potentially motivating to the student to prove themselves. So people use them to avoid true feelings, manipulate others, or because of past experiences. To address this, try to clarify the message and directly express discomfort, or set your boundaries. Another is the role of nonverbal communication in transactions. Of course, we have to consider the actions, facial expressions, and other nonverbal communication that a speaker or a person is expressing. So, for nonverbal communication in transactional analysis, it plays a crucial role alongside spoken words and transactions. It acts as a secondary channel that can either reinforce or contradict the verbal message, influencing how a message is received and interpreted according to the ego state. Now let us proceed to the advantages and disadvantages of transactional analysis. Number one is enhanced self-awareness as one of the advantages. Enhanced self awareness means individuals gain a deeper understanding of their own thoughts, emotions, and behavioral patterns by identifying their dominant ego states. This can empower them to make conscious choices and improve interactions with others. Another advantage is improved communication skills. When we know what ego state is involved in communication, we can adjust our approach to foster clearer and more effective interactions. Tech, Transactional analysis equips them to choose appropriate communication styles and navigate different situations constructively. Next is wider applicability. It is advantageous because it is a versatile tool to various social settings and relationships. It can be used to understand dynamics not only in the workplace but also in within the family, on different relationships like friends and loved ones, or even in romantic ones, and even client interactions across professions. This broad applicability of transactional analysis makes it a valuable framework for navigating diverse or different social situations. However, it has also its disadvantages. Number one is self awareness requirement. Transactional analysis relies heavily on the individual's capacity for self reflection. However, some people might struggle with this introspective process, making it difficult to identify their ego states and utilize transactional analysis effectively. Next one is its potential complexity. While initially it is designed to be straightforward, transactional analysis has evolved with many additional concepts which is introduced by other practitioners. This make it more complex for beginners who might find the growing body of information overwhelming. So that's it for the advantages and disadvantages. Let us have the reasons why transactional analysis is important. So let's enumerate them. Number one, it boosts our self awareness, it improves our communication skills, it enhances our conflict resolutions or the way we approach and solve conflicts, it strengthens our relationships, promotes personal growth, and of course, empowers leaders. So, who are the people who may benefit from practicing transactional analysis? We have the counselors and therapists who can benefit by analyzing human behavior, making it useful for professionals in the mental health field, such as the counselors and therapists. Meanwhile, for the managers and leaders like us, transactional analysis can help in leadership roles, improving communication, understanding team dynamics, and managing conflicts more effectively. Individuals seeking personal growth may also benefit from transactional analysis because it can help them gain insights into their pattern of behavior and communication, leading to improved relationships and personal development. So, in a nutshell of the first part of my report, transactional analysis provides individuals with a roadmap for self exploration, improved communication, and healthier relationships. By applying these principles, we can gain insights into the behaviors and dynamics with others, leading to personal growth, enhanced well being, and better interactions in all areas of our lives. Next in line is about about power and politics in organizations. So, what do power and politics in organization mean? Power in organization simply refers to the ability to influence others and achieve desired outcomes. Meanwhile, politics involves the use of power to navigate organizational structures and build alliances and achieve goals. These goals can be positive, like securing resources for a project, or negative, like manipulating others for personal interest or personal gain. Power and politics as a fundamental aspect of organizational life. Of course, many organizations portray themselves as teams working together towards a common objective. This view emphasizes cooperation, clear communication, and shared purpose. Despite the idealistic view of cooperation, power, and politics are inevit- are actually inevitable realities in organizations. Competition for resources, differing priorities, and personal agendas all contribute to a dynamic interplay of power and influence. So, the importance of understanding power dynamics for workplace, um, it is important because by understanding how power functions within an organization, individuals can navigate these dynamics more effectively, and this includes recognizing sources of power and understanding how power is used and developing strategies to achieve their own goals while respecting the interests of others. So, where do power comes from? We have number one, it came from reward. So, reward means the ability to influence others by providing something they value. The key element here is the ability to offer positive rewards such as promotions, bonuses, praises, or in our case, compensation such as through service credits or salary increment. Next is control over the distribution of rewards, the perception by others that the rewards are valuable. And examples for reward power would be a manager offering a bonus to an employee for completing a project early. Or in our case, the principal will be recognizing you for your successful project. Next one is coercive power. It is the ability to influence others through the threats or punishments. The key element here is the ability to inflict negative consequences such as demotions, disciplinary actions, and withholding resources. It also includes control over the application of these punishments and the perception by others that the punishment are credible threat. Example would be a supervisor issuing a warning to improve performance to avoid potential termination. Letter C or number three is legitimate power. It means that The power comes from the formal authority granted by a position within the organization hierarchy. Sources would be job title, designated role, official appointment, and the examples of these would be one, a CEO making a company wide decision based on his or her authority, or a department head assigning tasks and delegating responsibilities. Number four is expert power. So, this power is the influence gained through specialized knowledge, skills, or experience. The key element here is having or possessing expertise which is valuable to others. It the recognition of this expertise are actually recognized by others, and you are willing to share these expertise. So we are creating dependence as a strategy for expert power. By being the only one or being the best resource for a specific task, you increase your influence. And then we have examples of this would be a programmer offering coding expertise to help fix a critical software issue, or an accountant providing financial guidance to a team working on a budget. Last among the sources of power is the referent power. Referent power is the influence gained through personal charisma, attractiveness, or strong relationship. The sources here are your personal charm, you being trustworthy, um, being popular, and being part of a respective or respected group. The connection to charisma and personal relationships, people would be people with charisma can inspire and motivate others, increasing their influence. Meanwhile, for strong relationships, it can create a network of support and trust. Coping with uncertainty as a source of referent power. In times of uncertainty, someone who can provide clear analysis and direction can gain influence through their perceived competence and trustworthiness. So, those are the five sources of power in an organization. Now, let's tackle the Rollo-May's power model of power. Rollo-May, unlike the traditional model, focuses on the how of power, exploring the different ways we use power in our interactions with ourselves and others. Rollo May argued that power is not just about influencing others. It's about how we choose to wield it or use it. So we have five kinds of power or model of power according to Rollo May. Number one is the exploitative power. Exploitative power is the most destructive and selfish use of power. It's about dominating and controlling others, often through threats, force, or intimidation. So, next one is manipulative. This is subtle control through deception, such as the use of flattery and false promises. It, in, it also involves trickery or taking advantage of someone's weakness to get what you want. This type of power draws on the element of coercive power or the threat of not getting what you want, and referent power or using charm to gain trust. Number three is the competitive power. This is about striving to be better than the others, often for personal interest, personal gain, or personal recognition. It can have both positive and negative aspects. The negative side involves putting others down or resorting to unethical means to win. However, for healthy competition, it can motivate individuals and teams to excel. Number four is the nutritive power, using power to help others grow, such as in servant leadership or empowering others. This is the opposite of exploitative power. It's about using your power to nurture and support the growth and well being of others. So imagine a teacher who uses their knowledge and influence to empower their students. It's like that. And lastly is the integrative power, where working together to achieve a shared goal. It requires authenticity and mutual respect. This is the most mature and collaborative form of power because it involves working together with others, combining your strengths to achieve a shared goal, and it requires authenticity, open communication, and a sense of mutual respect. For example, think of two colleagues who leverage their unique expertise to solve a complex problem. So, May's model of power encourages us to be mindful of the power we possess and how to use them responsibly. His model highlights the importance of considering the ethical implications of our actions and choosing to use power in ways that create positive outcomes for ourselves and to those around us. So that's it for my two-part report. Let us now go to the related case studies. So for the related case studies, I have two. Number one is from Somoye 2024, where he said that power and politics are important dynamics in organization, both for good and bad. For positive effects, it can motivate employees and achieve goals. Politics can be used to gain influence and navigate differences for better decision making. However, it can also have drawbacks because it can create conflict and decrease productivity. Political behavior can be unethical and destructive. So, Somoya 2024 emphasizes using power and politics for positive outcomes by emphasizing that leaders should be professional and use politics appropriately. Organizations should find a balance, empower employees, reward good performance, and create a clear political system. So this balance can help organizations achieve their goals and improve worker productivity. Number 2 would be from Vimala 2023. He established the link between leadership styles and a concept of psychology called ego states, where leaders can potentially influence the ego states of their team members. So, in his research, he investigated the connection between leadership styles and ego states. Why does it matter? Because ego states are believed to influence human behavior, and leaders may be able to manage them in their teams for better performance. So the results suggest that a link but doesn't confirm there's a link but it doesn't confirm that training leaders in managing ego states actually improve overall organizational effectiveness. So that's it for the related case studies. We can say that power and politics are actually fundamental aspects of organizations, shaping how decisions are made and goals are achieved. As future leaders um, leaders of our respective organizations, understanding these dynamics is crucial for navigating the workplace by recognizing the various sources of power from expertise to position and the potential use of political maneuvering, we can become more effective players or members within our organization. This knowledge empowers us to build strategies, navigate relationship, and ultimately achieve our goals. So, in a nutshell, this report highlights the transactional analysis and power dynamics in achieving success within organization by recognizing the influence of parent, adult, child, or the ego states. Individuals can improve communication and build stronger relationship. Furthermore, understanding different power sources allows individual to navigate both positive and negative power dynamics effectively. This knowledge empowers us to develop strategies to achieve goals and foster a more productive working environment. And ultimately, when we apply these insights, we can foster personal and professional growth for both the leader and the team members. So that ends my report. So I'll be flashing once again my comprehensive questions, which you may do a screenshot to be discussed and shared later. That would be all for my report, Transactional Analysis of Human Behavior, Status and Power and Conflicts in Organizations for the subject Educ 608, Human Behavior in Organization. I'm Ria-Flor Vivaldos for, with Dr. Erwin P. Lacanlale as the professor. Before we end my report, I'd like you to share this quote from Harry Potter and the Hallows. It is a curious thing, but perhaps those who are best suited to power are those who have never sought it. Thank you so much for your indulgence.